EVMs cannot work perfectly. Do the commissioners, even you and you, know what's in the system, what's the software, how it works, what's the technology? At least I don't know. Do you know who does all this?
No.
What's the source code?
We don't know that source code, yes. But we have an independent committee of 5 IIT professors who know the job.
I'll give you 5 IIT professors who have said just the opposite. Should I give you? The schedule of elections were announced on 16th of March. On 21st of March, Arvind Kejriwal was arrested. And why did the Election Commission not interfere, sir? You can't control anybody. But 324 has that reservoir of power.
No, hate speech is covered under the model code.
Yeah, but what are they doing about it? Nothing. The Election Commission may not be performing its constitutional functions as it was expected to do. I never thought of this discussion 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't think anybody thought of this discussion because there was an element of distance between the ruling establishment and the Election Commission. Now you have a constitutional judgment of 5 judges of the Supreme Court saying that because under 324, the Commission has to perform a very, very sensitive function, right, to ensure free and fair elections, let the body which appoints commissioners consist of the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition and the Chief Justice of India. This judgment came and suddenly you had an act passed by which the government said, no, we won't have the Chief Justice of India. We will have a nominee of the Prime Minister. So you have 2 against 1. So you can appoint anybody you want.
And you will notice that in the last 10 years, this collegium with Chief Justice has been working in various posts.
Correct.
Not once anybody has raised question about those appointments.
Correct.
And not once has the Chief Justice differed with the Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
So where was the need to do this? You know, it is deliberate interfering with the optics that we don't care.
Now let's talk of the actual election. When the election happens, in the age of digitization and the media, you have an election taking place in one district, say in 5 phases. That district is part of only 1 phase. The next district, next door, which is part of a phase that happens, a little later, the Prime Minister is making speeches, right? Now, this is clearly unacceptable. How does the Election Commission allow that?
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
That I'm sure about. Now, let's go back to the EVM issue in which you have always said. I'll assume now that the EVMs, EVMs cannot interfere. Let's assume that they work perfectly. I'll assume that. But I am an elector. I want to know that when I cast my vote, that vote went into that ballot box, right? And it was counted towards the candidate in whose favor I cast that vote. Now, that responsibility is with the EVM and recorded. That responsibility is with the EVM, right? I have a fundamental issue about that. Do the commissioners, even you and you, know what's in the system, what's the software, how it works, what's the technology? At least I don't know. Do you know? Who does all this?
No.
What's the source code?
Well, no, we don't know that source code or the software there. Yes. But we have an independent committee of 5 IIT professors who know the job.
I'll give you 5 IIT professors who have said just the opposite. Should I give you? I have it with me. So, you see, election commissioners don't know these things.
No, but...
I'm sorry to say. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to something far more serious than that. This was before the election. Now, in the midst of election, you have the weaponization of the Enforcement Directorate and the tax authorities. And you have seen that after the 16th of March, when the election was scheduled, was announced, there's this ED raids taking place, income tax notices being given. The schedule of elections were announced on 16th of March. On 21st of March, Arvind Kejriwal was arrested. No reason to do that. And the Election Commission never said a word. On March 23, the Enforcement Directorate conducted raid on the premises of Gulab Singh Yadav, who represents a constituency in Delhi. On this March 27, Enforcement Directorate raids various sites, including AAP leader Deepak Singla, in Delhi. On March 28, ED questions Punjab Excise Department officials and Aam Aadmi Party Goa convener Amit Palekar and 3 party leaders on the excise policy in Goa. On March 30th, ED questions Delhi Transport and Law Minister Kailash Gehlot for 5 hours. On April 2, Enforcement Directorate filed a money laundering case against TMC leader Mahua Moitra. On March 21, 2024, Enforcement Directorate carried raids in Anna DMK leader Swaroop Biswas. On March 15, 2024, raid on Lok Sabha candidate Amol Kirtikar of Uddhav Group. Now, this is what is happening after March 16. And why did the Election Commission not interfere, sir? The Election Commission is quiet. Nobody is saying a thing. And this is going on after March 16. How does and this is not part of the Model Code of Conduct. After all, you can't control anybody. But 324 has that reservoir of power.
No, hate speech is covered under the Model Code.
Yeah, but what are they doing about it? Nothing. Courts sometimes act suo moto. I've seen courts acting suo moto in many cases. Why can't the Election Commission act suo moto when it sees something like this happening in front of its eyes? I don't think the issue is of being partisan. If the Election Commission acts suo moto, in an extreme case, the people of this country will applaud the Election Commission.
I personally feel that nothing stops the Election Commission from taking suo moto action.
Right.
But as he said that otherwise they will be flooded or will be accused of being partisan. And secondly, don't forget, the opposition is always alert and they send a complaint within half an hour.
That is also
so I'm sure these complaints must have reached there.
Right. And then nothing is done about it. Now we see that suddenly overnight, thousands of people's names are removed from the electoral roll. Thousands. Right? People who are residing there for years, people who've got Aadhaar cards, and suddenly their names are deleted. They go to the polling station. It's happened in my own constituency when I was fighting from Chandni Chowk. And they say, we can't vote. Now, how does this work? I mean, how are the names deleted? These are people who are poor, they have no knowledge, they are not aware of these things, they have no access. Why can't you say that as of January, when you publish the electoral roll and the election is before June, that is the final roll?
That's a good point, But the point I was making was, people may be poor and illiterate. What are the opposition parties, the political parties doing? Let them appoint observers, volunteers, to go door to door and see whether somebody's name has been struck off illegally.
But why can't the Election Commission say that on January 2 the roll is finalized?
That's a new idea and a good suggestion. Why not? Freeze it there so that the scope of deletion
doesn't happen.
Taken away.
Let me move on to again something else that we talked about, and that is that we find that in many instances names of not just minorities are deleted, but also the administration ensures that where the minorities are entitled to vote, they are not allowed to vote. I'll give you an example. And the example is Rampur Assembly constituency. And I'm talking of December 2022. Azam Khan was disqualified on account of his conviction. Voter turnout was 31%. 31%. And the BJP candidate won by 34,000 votes. And there are a total number of 3.9 lakh voters, of which 2.5 lakhs are Muslims. And yet, the total votes cast were 1,31,000. I was myself privy to images on the social media where policemen were deployed outside houses, not allowing electors to go out and vote. And the data that I have given you speaks for itself. What was the Election Commission doing? What was the Election Commission doing?
It's very shocking.